Border Barrels back for another Beercast, and there's just the two of us today. So just me and Gratzy.
I thought you were going to drum roll it in because if any listeners out there have their favourites, they might have been thinking, "Oh no, oh shit, which one?"
Oh shit, yeah, no. If you do have a favourite, write in and let us know. But yeah, Hutto's taking some time off.
We let him have some annual leave.
Yeah,
from the
he
podcast.
did. Yeah, he did take annual leave.
Or has he been omitted for some poor form last week?
Who knows?
Who knows? Did he have any poor form? I don't know. Just
Nah, he's doing it.
that's for the listeners to decide.
Yeah, but I think he's doing a fair bit of research for the Beercast right now, I'd say, with this weather. So, yeah, we'll catch up with him next week. But, yeah, here with Gratz. What have you got for me, Gratz?
Oh, we've got a little bit of beer news. I've got a few little beers to try. You're still on your Gabs journey, I can see, with the can in front of you.
I am, but you won't see it because we're not on YouTube this week, unfortunately, because Hutto is the tech guy.
He is, and I was actually thinking of bringing the Cyril Rioli life-size cutout that I managed to acquire from a sports store once upon a time and give to my nan on Christmas Eve as a Christmas present. And thought that would be Hutto's replacement until I realised we wouldn't be filming, so it would be a waste.
Oh, it would have flown out of the back of the ute anyway, if I'm honest.
Probably scared the shit out of her, though.
Yeah, that's
so what I
pretty
did,
funny.
I actually I set Cyril up at her front door, knocked, and then ran around the corner. So she just opened the door, but the fly screen was still there. So it was like a little bit sort of like, she wasn't seeing it clearly enough. And she's like, "Oh, who's that? What's that? Who's that?" And then she opened the door, and she's like, "Cyril!"
Oh,
and then I
that's
popped
pretty-
up around the corner.
That's pretty cool. At least she knew who it was, and she was happened to have him in her home. Very
She
good.
now uses Cyril in her garage to know that the car has moved in far enough. If she hits Cyril, she's gone too far.
So it's the version of the tennis ball on the string that people have.
Yep, it's exactly that. Now, we usually start off with the beers we're drinking, but I thought we may as well start off with the news we left as a cliffhanger from last week.
That's my breaking news thing, if anyone hasn't caught on to
I'm
that
hearing it a
already.
bit more recently, and I like it. I always get excited when I hear it if I'm not also in on what the news may be.
Yeah, you know it's coming.
But we'd heard in the pipeline for a little while that there was potentially a brewery opening in South Albury. Now, I found that out when I was at the gym one day, and the TV was on, and there was a news update, and it was muted, but it had the closed captions. And sometimes the closed captions actually get stuck on the screen for a little while.
Yeah.
And the news update was happening. I just happened to look up, and then the news update sort of finished, but the last caption stayed on, and it was a brewery planned for South Albury. And I never ended up seeing what the news story was. I couldn't find it. I couldn't Google it.
Right.
This was months ago.
Yeah, how good.
And then my wife's pretty cluey with all of this stuff. So we looked on the Albury Council website and had a bit of a look for, construction certificates and DA approvals, or I think that's what it's called, DA approval.
Yeah, I
something
think
like
so.
that.
Yeah.
And
But the council goes, "Yep, we approve of you doing this in this spot." Yeah.
And we happened to find, and we didn't want to break the news too early because it hadn't been announced properly, but a brewery in South Albury on Townsend Street called Thirsty Devil.
Ooh, how
And
good.
a couple of days later, their social media pages on Facebook and Instagram that I've seen have gone active. So anyone in the local area or anyone interested in new breweries, of course, can check that out. They've had a few updates of construction as well.
Yeah, no, there's a bit going on, and they're pretty responsive because I got straight onto it, and I just sent them a message and said, "Good on you, I was looking forward to it." And they told me a little bit about what they're going on. The space must be big because there's a couple of beer gardens, a couple of bars, a cocktail bar, and a bloody strip club. No, there's no strip club. But there's plenty of stuff going on in there, so the building must be huge. But it is one of those old warehousey type joints, I think. So
Well, anyone who's ever been to a brewery, if you've only ever been once or you've never been to one, you might see that it might be in industrial estates and just in these big warehouses, and you sort of think, do I want to go spend my day there?
Yeah.
It's weird. And then you do.
Yeah.
And you realise how cool that is.
Yeah.
It's very laid back, but you're also sort of sitting amongst all the tanks usually. If you know a little bit about the beer and you're interested and you talk to someone, they might tell you some things that are coming soon, which I found, which was pretty cool at Burnley down in Richmond once. I went with my wife and told them we were from Albury and we're into all the different beers, and actually took us behind the scenes and gave us a little sample of some stuff, which was very cool. We spent a good afternoon a couple of years ago at 5 Barrel in Wollongong.
Yes. Is that the lightning?
It was, because it's in a big metal shed.
Jeez.
There was a big storm going on that day, and I think that the brewery actually was attracting the lightning, and all of us just at the same moment, I think, all relieved our bladders.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard anything like that.
No, neither have I. And the flash, like everything, it was a real shock to the system. That was crazy.
The shock to the system was watching everyone try and drink a tasting paddle when they were very hungover too.
Yeah,
Took a little while.
Yeah, but bit of a warm up. Now with the brewery, that's very exciting. So you touched on why they're usually in industrial areas, and like, would you want to spend your time there? So yeah, you probably would. Why are they in the industrial areas? Do you think it's a pure cost sort of situation? It's like, well, look, we're going to brew beers here, and if people come, then good on them.
I think that you need the space to brew the beer first and foremost. But if you also want to sell it, as you said, cost effective. You don't want to then try and open a little brew pub closer into town.
Yeah.
Some do. The bigger breweries can afford to do that. For example, Pirate Life that I went to in Port Adelaide, they've got a brew pub in Adelaide Central.
Yeah.
But they've also got the actual brewery out in Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
Prancing Pony had a pop-up when I was in Adelaide also. I think it was only there for the duration of the Fringe Festival, but that's something that they can do as well, which is also pretty cool. But yeah, cost effective, of course, but you can also make, I suppose, as we've seen with Moondog. So when you were explaining that to me, I was thinking of Moondog World. And for anyone that's not aware of that, it's basically, I think they marketed it as a playground for adults.
Yeah.
They've got everything. Like everything you can think of. It's the biggest brewery in Australia, I think.
Right.
And when you say brewery, it is the brewery, but it's a brew pub. And it's I suppose, a pub. Whatever you call a place that you go and sit down and have a beer.
It's all of those
It's
things.
all the things.
Yeah,
it's all of them. And it's just easy to do that and do everything on site and host it all there in one spot.
Yeah,
really.
fair enough.
So,
very good.
But Albury has not had that. So that is something that we do have to look forward to. So
Yeah,
really,
nice.
we'll try and develop a good relationship, obviously, like we do with all the new beer places in town, whether they be retail shops or pubs.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll be seeing a fair bit of us, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Exciting.
There's a couple of thirsty breweries happening down here in the Riverina. There's the Thirsty Crow in Wagga, and there's now the Thirsty Devil down here.
Yeah. Just in time for maybe the Tasmanian Devils to come into the AFL, which is
that on?
It's looking more likely, although they haven't confirmed it will be the Devils, but I think they'd be shitting themselves in the foot if they didn't.
Yeah, like what's the cricket team called?
Tigers, but you can't do that.
I guess
It could be the Jack Jumpers, like in the basketball.
Like what is a Jack jumper? I don't actually know.
It's an ant.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I have heard of that.
Yeah.
But still, like out of
Do
all,
you know how well they've done down there?
no.
So they made went to the final. I'm pretty sure. Sell out every game. They've got Luca Brasi, the band, as the house band.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they've gone full Tassie with it, and that's part of the appeal apparently. So, but it'd be remiss of me to not mention the beer I'm drinking because, as we said, this is a beer podcast.
Yes.
So,
we'll get into it.
keeping it also local, Bright Brewery. You've been there a fair bit recently, I think.
They know me by name, I
Yeah.
reckon. I've been there quite a bit. I love Bright. Love the brewery and the surrounds. It's so good.
Now, you hadn't been until my Bucks. Is that true?
100%.
That was years ago. Yeah.
And then Marcy and I have been going a fair bit, and it's just awesome. And it was quite funny. Old Steve, who we know, one of our mates, is sorry about that. Is like had some time off. He's like, where should I go? I'm like, you go to Bright, and these are the places you go when you're there. So
Is he going to do it?
yeah,
Oh,
he's
awesome.
booked in. Like,
Oh, that's fantastic.
that's why I thought it was one of those things where it's like, oh, this is what you should do. And he goes, oh, yeah, so we go on Tuesday. I'm staying at that hotel you said. I'm going here, I'm going there. So no, that'd be good. But yeah, tell us
Just don't
more.
try and buy real estate. I recken it'll be pretty dear. But we've got the Northeast Victoria IPA, which I believe is a yearly series. Last year, the can was red, and that is all the information I have to offer you on the previous version. But as we do, we've got it read in the blurb. So they call it the NEV IPA. So the Neverpa is an ode to our beautiful high country home, brewed with freshly picked whole hop cones, harvested on the day from local hop fields and mountain botanicals forged by our breweries. The taste of the Northeast, a true expression of place with a unique melody of citrus aromas and a fresh mountain flavour. Local ingredients, whole hop cones, pepperberry, mint bush, hop leaf, bitter pea, and narrow-leafed peppermint gum. Gee, that was tough to read.
Yes.
That's why I read it a little bit slower.
Now, is that wet hopped you mentioned?
Now it is. That is wet. Sorry, I should have mentioned that's big on the front of the can. IPA wet hopped. And I pulled this out of my bag and you said, oh yeah, that's good. I've had that.
Yeah.
And straight away, it was the citrus aroma.
Yeah,
The first taste I got, it was just explosion right in the mouth.
Yeah.
But also incredibly fresh tasting.
Yeah.
I'm glad this is a 440ml can because I can sip this for a little while and just thoroughly enjoy every sip. And so far, from what I've had, it is just really consistent and really fresh tasting. And yeah, as I said, that citrus is right at the front. All those other local ingredients, I can't flat out say I'm tasting pepperberry or hop leaf bitter pea, but some of the freshness, I assume, that you would associate with those sounds would definitely there. So this was purchased at East Albury IGA also. A few other places should probably have it, including the brewery themselves. So there's a little recommendation for everyone because it is bloody delicious.
Yeah, no, that one is good. And all the freshness and that sort of thing for people that don't know. And I'm just checking on the old laptop here because like wet hop versus dry hop is what I wrote in. So wet hopping refers to the state of the hops being used, in brackets, still fresh and full of moisture. And dry hopping refers to the point in the process where the hops are added. It has nothing to do with the hops themselves. So if you dry hop something, it's late in the process in the fermenter when the beer is cold. But yeah, wet hopping is just if they're bloody fresh as.
And this tastes bloody fresh as.
Yeah, there you go. And also, one thing about Bright, and it's something I need to confirm, but I think they'd use some of the bloody water down the back there.
The ovens?
What? Yeah.
The ovens river?
I reckon. Sure, there's a bit of that in there. That's what it tastes like. It's bloody just been scooped out of there.
If you ever need just to rejuvenate your whole life, just go stand in that water.
Yeah.
Any time of the year.
Any time. I was going to say any time of year.
The trout will be swimming amongst your feet.
Yeah. If you do it at the moment, you might lose your feet. But yeah, no, I agree with that. It's bloody good stuff.
And what do you have over there?
Awesome. Mine's not so local, but it is fairly familiar for those playing at home. It's another Mountain Culture beer. Well, I'll tell you what, we should have bought shares in them. So it's another Gabs beer. It's what they took to Gabs, and they just called it the Awesome Beer. And
they were right.
They were right. So it's a mango milkshake IPA, 8%. It's only a little fella in a 355, but that's because it came in the pack. That's one of their only little fellas that they send out. Ingredients, awesome, 99%. Mangoes, hops, so Mosaic, Simcoe Citra, BRU1, Idaho 7, Sabro, and all the other stuff. And it is a oat cream IPA, so it contains lactose, so it makes it smooth, also a little bit sweet, which I don't mind. But I need to look deeper into. So I like Mosaic, and BRU1, I believe.
I was going to ask you a question about that.
Yes.
Can we Google that?
Yes. So before I Google it, I believe BRU1 gives you a bunch of sweet, like pineapple-y kind of flavors, because I've seen it in quite a few things.
Do you, from memory, think that every time you've seen that as part of a beer, you've really enjoyed that beer?
Yes.
Because I mentioned that. I think the best beer I had all year, which took me by complete surprise, was when I was in Adelaide and visited Shapeshifter and grabbed a little 4-pack takeaway. Not so little, sorry, 440ml cans. And I forget the name of it, but there was an oat cream IPA that was there, and it was 8.8%. And got home like, oh, yeah, I'll have this. Been a day out to the beach and everything. How cool. Poured it, took a couple of sips, and I almost just had to take a step back from the glass because I couldn't believe how good the beer was. It was my favourite beer I've had all year.
Yeah.
And I noticed that Brew 1 was part of it.
Yeah.
Or BRU 1.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. And having also almost 5 out of 5 to that awesome beer on Untapped, I think I might have given it 4.75.
Yeah.
Seeing that's part of it might mean that I need to look for more beers with that in it.
Yeah, and that might be a little tip for those at home. If you find, if you read the back and see what's in it or find out what's in it, and enough times you find like that same hop, it's probably an indication that's what you're into. So I've just had a look here. BRU1 is notable for its distinct sweet fruit aroma that is often described as pineapple. When used in a whirlpool or hop addition, a dry hop addition, so late, BRU delivers the aroma of freshly cut pineapple and green fruits BRU1 is synergistic with other hops, creating depth of fruit flavour. So there you go. Actually did remember something, so that's good.
Yeah, deep is definitely, it feels so full and thick.
Yeah, it does. So normally I don't go much on mango, as we've spoken about, more of a passion fruit guy, but I did, seeing the BRU one, I'm like, no, pineapple as well. So pineapple and passion fruit are my go-tos. But yeah, it's very nice. It is, yeah. And I don't know. The can art's cool too, with the dinosaur and DJ with his blue hat.
Well, they had a big poster up at Gabs of that.
Yeah, they did. And in Sydney, they actually had the dinosaur. It wasn't a real life dinosaur, but like a animatronic sort of thing.
Yeah,
I believe.
It was the T-Rex from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, unfortunately, we missed it. Yeah. And then as well, there's a number on the back, which it's past now, but. Did you notice that? It's got the mobile number.
Yeah. What did that do?
So basically, you give it a call, and it gives you a free shipping code for the period of time. Because
so cool.
Yeah, they were doing $5 shipping through COVID, and then it's not COVID anymore. And they're like, well, we need to make some money back here, because it would have been costing a bit. Because there's no way it costs $5. I could send something next door, and it would cost you bloody more than that. So, no, very good. I thought it was delicious. Delicious. Oat cream IPAs are pretty good, but I have to say, if you are lactose intolerant, you better stay in your bathroom.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. There's one more piece of news to finish off.
Yes.
It's a bit more serious business.
Right.
Talked about our Adelaide breweries before, and one that I did visit while I was there was Little Bang. Now, it's a big deal for a lot of craft beer drinkers when a favourite brewery of theirs, look, I'm putting it in quotes with my fingers, but sells out. You know, some people see it that way. Other people see it as, good on them for being in a great position to the point where they have more interest from bigger companies. Little Bang's situation that we've learnt about during the week is slightly different, though, in my opinion. So just the first bit from this article that I've got here from the Crafty Pint. One of Adelaide's best-loved craft breweries has been snapped up by a South Australian-owned hotel group. Little Bang Brewery's founders today confirmed the business is now part of Duxton Pubs Group, a hotel investment fund which operates a number of venues throughout the state, confirming rumours that had swelled for months. Now, I won't go into too much depth of the article because it's a long one, but when I read this the other day, apparently this is the first brew pub that this group has bought.
Yep.
So this isn't necessarily a situation where Lion or CUB have just picked up the brewery and gone, cool, we mass produce you now, good on ya.
Yeah.
So the situation here was the head brewer was actually always planning on going back home to WA when his daughter reached high school age, which was still their plan. But to keep the brewery going, and because they're quite popular and had some interest, they felt this is the best way to go because in their mind, they're keeping it local with the South Australian-owned group. And they're also the first of their kind to be purchased like this in this way.
Yeah.
So the brewery's still going to go ahead as it was. I assume that they'll still have all the same releases they always do. I assume the quality of the beer should stay exactly the same. The only difference is when you see some breweries get picked up by the big boys, you sort of think, hang on, I can go to any pub now and there's a possibility that I might be able to get something on tap. Like, for example, we talked about my Bucks earlier.
Yep.
We're at the Tallangata pub a few years ago drinking Mountain Goat Steam Ale on tap.
Yep.
That wouldn't have happened a few years before that.
No.
You weren't getting independent stuff.
No.
But because generally how it works, if you're not aware, someone will come in usually, let's say it's someone on behalf of CUB, and they'll come into a pub when a pub's been set up or when a contract's about to run out and say, we want to buy your taps.
Yep.
And we will supply all the beers to the taps. And sometimes they can negotiate and say, we want 10% to be for stuff we source ourselves. Which happens a lot locally, which is why you might find stuff like Beechworth Pale or Bilson stuff, which is all still independent. But the one positive is if there's these breweries that we've grown up enjoying for being independent and they've become so popular they've been bought out, you may be able to find their beers in places you normally wouldn't, and that's still getting craft beer in the hands of more people.
Yep.
So there is a positive to it, as much as it can be seen as a negative.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends. It depends what that pub group's going to do, because I guess the comparison that I've thought about while you're talking about it is so Beer Deluxe as a brand, they've actually bought quite a few pubs. So they started in Melbourne. I think it's Fed Square. I think that's where the main one is. But like that, Paddy's was Paddy's here in Albury. But Beer Deluxe bought that. or bought a portion of or whatever. And it's just very dependent on what that pub group wants to do. But that pub group wants to do craft beer, so they do craft beer. So I don't know. And it sounds like knowing the guys down there, it seems like they have a fair bit of control. It seems like they have total control what they have on their taps and that sort of thing. So I guess it's just dependent on what this pub group wants to do with Little Bang, and hopefully they want to act in the best interests of it, and keep it going and letting them do what they do. And maybe, it's cheap, like a cheap deal to get their beers, and they have them everywhere or whatever.
There is a plan apparently for what we were talking about before. Would you have your brewery on site and then a brew pub? Apparently that is something that could be worked into it, because this group owns pubs and is a hotel group. Running a pub is something they will be familiar with. So they might own the first brew pub they've owned, but they might be like, inner city Adelaide or anywhere, Melbourne. Melbourne, a lot of people in Melbourne would love Little Bang. They could just be like, we're opening a Little Bang pub. That I guess that's the theory behind it, and
we'll
expansion.
We'll see what
time
happens.
will tell. But it's a bit of an interesting one in regards to the being bought out situation, because you either hear that they're staying independent or they're going to the big boys.
Yeah, and I don't know.
This is in the middle.
Yeah, it is, and one would argue that. I was worried when Bolter got bought out. I was really worried, because it's like, they're not going to make any more beers. They're just going to keep doing whatever. But, we went to Gabs. We tried some really good beers from them. And they are still releasing, series beers and limited beers that are quite good. They did a New Zealand series last time. Still, it sort of doesn't feel like the shark punching spirit is there as much. But, I don't know. It could be a new era in that sort of thing. So, very good. All right.
Anyway, thank you for listening to our beer pod with 2/3 of the group. And next week, there'll either be no podcast or it'll be 2/3 again, this time with myself not here. So if I'm your least favourite character on this television program, you'll be in luck, because next week I will not be here.
But if it's me, sucked in, because I'll be here again. So that'll do us for now. For goodness sake, if you're still listening, just send us in a question. It doesn't even have to be about beer. It just can be anything. So it'll be in the description. You just click it and you just make a little voice recording. But last week George got onto us. Thanks, George. I still owe you a beer, which I need to send. But send us in a question, because it's quite fun. All right, catch us later. Bye.